stand? Whoa. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Councilor Belanger.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Leary.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milonazo.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
Councilor Samaras.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Raymond J. Poitras, a lifelong member of Lowell. He received his education in the Lowell Public Schools. Ray served his country in the United States Army during the Korean conflict, completed his training in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and was stationed in Germany. Prior to his retirement in 1976, Ray was employed for over 20 years by the City of Lowell Water Department as a heavy equipment operator. Ray was a very kind and generous man, volunteering countless hours at Duville Senior Care. He was also an active member of the Lowell Senior Center. Ray was a communicant of St. Michael's Church in Lowell and was a member of the St. Vincent de Paul Society and the Holy Name Society. He was a lifetime member of the East End Club, a former chaplain, and a Man of the Year honoree. He enjoyed his memberships at the VFW Walker Rogers Post 662, the Disabled American Veterans Organization, and the Lowell American Legion Post 87. Ray received the prestigious Key to the City in 1992 by former Lowell Mayor Tarsi Poulias, and in 2009, Ray was the recipient of Community Teamworks Incorporated Local Heroes Marjorie McDermott Award for distinguished service to the greater Lowell community. Ray is survived by his 6 children, Brian, a member of the Lowell Fire Department, Mary Jo, Robert, Thomas, Susan, and Christina, 9 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. He was also the father of Raymond J. Poitras, Jr., who passed away in 2015. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you. First order of business under the city clerk are minutes for acceptance. The minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee of July 7th, the Zoning Subcommittee of July 12th, the City Council meeting of July 12th, and the Neighborhood Subcommittee of July 20th. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the minutes, place it on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under communications from the city manager, we have responses A through L. So we'll start with the first one, the low-income housing opportunities. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the report, and I would move that it be referred to the Housing Subcommittee for further action.
Okay, we have a motion to refer item A to the Housing Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any more discussion on item A? Hearing none, we'll move to item B. The NIBRS report in opioid-related deaths. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll move on to item C, the Hamilton Canal District parking garage update. Any Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. I'd like to refer this to the Subcommittee on Economic Development.
Okay, we have a motion to refer item C to the City Council Subcommittee on Economic Development, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any further discussion on the Hamilton Canal District parking garage update? If not, we'll move on to item D, which is...
Mayor, I have a
Yes.
question on it,
Councilor Elliott?
on the Hamilton Canal update. So, Mr. Manager, thank you for the update on that. I guess I was concerned with the schedule at the end of the report regarding the land swap and the national park and the exchange of that land as it relates to the design and development of the garage. That time frame continues to slip. My understanding that it was perhaps going to be completed by now, and I realize it literally took an act of Congress to do that land swap, but I think you've been very vigilant in working with the LRTA to find places for the buses, yet we now learn, and according to the report, sometime between April and September of 2017, that time frame continues to slip, which means that delays the construction of the garage, which impacts the entire Hamilton Canal District. So I did see that you meet with Congresswoman Tsongas on a regular basis. Is there some logical reason why this time frame continues to slip if you know, we've had Congresswoman Tsongas here indicating, you know, all systems a go? It's pretty significant, and it clearly is impacting the economic development on that area.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a difficult process, and the staff people and myself and Congresswoman Tsongas have been working diligently on it. But in all honesty, you know, it's going to take some time for the MassWorks grant to be completed to bring infrastructure over into that area of the Hamilton Canal, which will then allow for the development of the parking garage. And also, we got great news this week that we got the EDA grant to construct the signature bridge, so that's going to take some time. So it is long, but believe it or not, it seems like hopefully with not an act of Congress, but with an act of God, that they'll all come together, the infrastructure, the bridge, and the garage. But we are working diligently to do it as quickly as possible.
No, Mr. Manager, I agree. I believe you are. If you're meeting regularly on it, it just seems that this schedule, and it is pretty detailed, everything hinges on the transfer of this land. I do see that, you know, design may proceed on the garage, and I'm a little nervous about that, knowing, I mean, you know, fingers crossed everything will happen and we acquire that land, but to proceed with design on the garage, knowing that we haven't completed that land swap is, you know, certainly something that it would be better if we had the land swap. I understand, and I understand that you're trying to proceed with the garage, because the garage is important. It's important to the city. It's important to that area as well as to the national park. So anything else, anything we can do to sort of bring this back on schedule? And I know it's not within your jurisdiction.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we need more than that garage. And we're going to be coming to you with a plan to construct another garage, because we need to provide 300 spaces for the new judicial center. We need to supply another 125 spaces for the expansion of the Lowell Community Health Center. So our parking needs in that area far exceed that one garage on that side of the Hamilton Canal. So we've started formulating a plan, and we'll be presenting it within the next couple of months to the City Council to begin construction of another garage in the Hamilton Canal area. That's how much is needed. I had a meeting with Jack Clancy from Enterprise Bank. They expect in the next couple of years they're going to need 250 additional parking spaces for their employees, their expansion of downtown Lowell. So we need more parking spaces. So we'll be coming to you with a good plan in the very near future about another parking garage.
Well, all the more reason to get this back on schedule, if you will. And I'm not sure what we can do to help you other than to weigh into the Congresswoman and our senators to have the federal government, we understand government takes time and there are processes, but this directly involves this community, this development, and knowing that there is a need And if there's no parking, people can't go to the district, nor are they going to invest in this area. So I think it's imperative that, we reach out. I know you meet regularly to our U.S. senators to put some pressure on those governmental entities that can make this happen a little bit sooner. So thank you for the update, Mr. Manager. And it is a good problem that we need more parking, and that you'll be coming forward with a parking plan. But this has been in the works for a while, and it's unfortunate that it's being slowed down, or the government's dragging their feet on it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Belanger and then Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I share the same concerns as Councilor Elliott. Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Now, Mr. Manager, the land swap, I mean, there's delays, but it's imminent. If we may be so bold, it's an imminent deal, just a matter of time. So are we going forward with the design of the garage in the interim? I guess is my question.
Yes, you approved capital funds in this year's capital budget to do the design of the
design, I
garage. So
understand,
we are
okay.
going forward with the design, fully anticipating that we will begin construction within, hopefully, we're looking at a year at least from now, and starting construction shortly after a year.
Okay, so in essence, the land swap and the design could be complete, in essence, or on the same time frame. We could begin construction on target. At least that's what's important. I mean, we
Yes.
have obligations to those who signed on to the Hamilton Canal to have this thing complete in 2018, and we've got to live up to those obligations. So, okay, I have full trust in you, Mr. Manager, to get this done. There's always snags, but I have full confidence in the land swap deal, and as long as the design is going forward, I'm very content. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, I know that you anticipate the many bumps in the road that we have, whether it's the garage or other capital developments that we do in the city. But the purpose of my requesting that this be sent to the Subcommittee on Economic Development, I'd hope that at that time you'd also be able to bring in some of the other players, such as somebody from the National Park or possibly from LRTA, to talk about what their contribution has been as part of this process, and talk about what you anticipate some of the problems could be and why the timeline has had to be adjusted as it has. I know it's through no fault of your own, but the thing is, I think the general public sometimes doesn't understand, what does happen? Why does a simple land swap not take place? But it's not a simple land swap. There's so many things that affect any of these programs. So the request also not only to bring this matter before the subcommittee, but to include other people from possibly Congresswoman Saungers's office to help answer some of the questions that we as councilors have at this particular time. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to item D, bar violation decisions rendered by the License Commission. Any discussion, Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly appreciate the report, and I see Ryan Wynn, the Executive Secretary for the License Commission, is here this evening. But the report, as I really did expect, is quite an eye-opener. When you look at what's gone on at the Crown at 74 Merrimack Street, the Mill City Ballroom at 74 Merrimack Street. Actually, I think the Crown is on Middlesex Street. It says Merrimack Street here. The Village Smokehouse on 92 to 98 Middle Street, and then the All-Star Lounge at 177 Merrimack Street. It's just amazing. And again, I appreciate the work that the License Commission does. I appreciate the police department and the good work that they're doing, but something has to give here. I mean, there are 4 problem locations in the downtown that have been before the License Commission repeatedly. Some have actually gone on to appear before the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission at the state level. I see that the violations that we've imposed when we actually suspend the license, we may do a 5-day suspension and do 3 days and then 2 days in abeyance, and these are for repeat offenders. I guess I would like to know what the logic is to actually put on hold some of the punishment, because they don't appear to be getting better. And again, I'm very concerned that someone, especially one of our police officers, may get severely hurt at one of these locations. And again, I mention them publicly because I think the public needs to know that these establishments, the managers, the people that have the licenses in their name, are misbehaving, in my opinion. So again, Ryan Wynn is here, whether or not he wants to address some of these findings, but it's just incredible what this report entails, Mr. Manager.
Yes, that was a great question about, it seems like they're short a term, but I've talked to the superintendent of police, and Deputy Superintendent Webb is here also, who works closely with the License Commission. What they've found is really, when they give the short suspensions rather than the long suspensions, they're less likely to appeal it to the ABCC. So it seems the short-term suspensions are working out better than the long-term ones. However, what we really need to work on is rolling back the hours. And trust me, I've met with Deputy Superintendent Webb, I've met with Superintendent Taylor about it. We're keeping a close watch on these, especially the Crown Club. It's very difficult sometimes to tie in a shooting up at the early garage with them actually coming from the Crown. We suspect they are, but we just got to get that nexus, and then we really want to roll back the hours. That's the
If
really
I could,
way to
Mr.
do
Mayor,
it.
have we ever terminated a license and had them go through the process of getting it back? I mean, have we ever actually terminated a license, closed them for good?
Yes.
Ryan
Because, I mean,
Wynn?
If what's in this report is accurate, and I believe it to be accurate, I don't know why we didn't get to the point of terminating a license.
Mr. Wynn?
Whether or not we've ever terminated a license. Did we ever terminate someone's license to sell alcohol based upon bad behavior?
That is something I'm sure the commission has considered as an alternative. When any action of the License Commission is given, particularly a disciplinary a matter, the commission has to recognize that these licensees have a right to appeal their decision, the licensing board's decision. They appeal to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission. If the disciplinary action is severe, such as a revocation of license, then invariably sometimes the attorney representing that licensee will look for an injunction from the court if the License Commission is not willing to give that matter a stay pending their appeal to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission. So in some instances, the violation may justify such a severe action. The other matter the commission has to weigh is progressive discipline. If they revoke a license on a first offense, assuming the offense is, let's say, a sale to a minor, person under the age of 21, then in all probability that matter will be appealed to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission. And will then invariably will take time for that hearing to be held before the ABC on the appeal. In the interim, that period, waiting for that appeal hearing, the licensee will seek to remain open. If the License Commission is not willing to wait for the appeal hearing to be held, then the licensee can go to the court and ask for an injunction to hold up the disciplinary action. The court can readily grant that injunction because they may see that the action of the licensing board was a very excessive first-time offense, assuming that was the first time. And they may want to look for the court to, or the licensee to have a second chance and the appeal before the ABC is a new hearing, so that the ABC, the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, will hear all the evidence as if it was a first-time hearing. And if they find that the action of the licensing board was justified, then they'll uphold the licensing board's action. Otherwise, they may remand it back to the local board for a new hearing, and then start the process again. And so then sometimes that is a cautionary note to the licensing authority to say, well, if you do continue to maintain that discipline action of revocation, then the licensee could then say, well, I'm going to appeal it again to the ABC, and the ABC could then overturn the licensing board's action. And then it becomes a little bit more involved with the city to have to now seek a
Have we
legal
ever,
remedy.
though, actually revoked the license and had it upheld by the
Yeah,
ABC?
it's a simple question. Have we ever revoked a license and it's been upheld by the ABCC? In your time here?
Usually when the revocation of a license commission has been taken. The Alcohol Beverages Control Commission has upheld that action, given the track record of the licensee where the,
Okay, thank you.
their behavior has been known to be.
Thank you.
Okay. Council Elliott, then Council Samara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this report is sort of an eye-opener for all of us here. It was just a short time ago, Mr. Manager, that there were headlines in the local newspaper that said "Wild, Wild West downtown," and that is not the perception or impression we want to give to people to come downtown. So I agree with Councilman Linazzo, and this is a good motion because it seems that the repeat offenders continue to skirt the law. They go to the License Commission, they get a slap on the wrist, and I believe that they continue to push the envelope because we don't revoke the licenses. I do think it's time that we, that we take this, that the punishments are more severe, and they're not, and that we hold the punishment, that it's administered. Let them appeal to ABCC. And let ABCC come to the city, and we'll be happy to lay out the history of these bars right downtown. I think we're using precious resources of our police officers to go downtown. These places, in the past, we get complaints. We see the emails, you see the emails. People urinating all over the place, vandalism, fights downtown. Police are consistently called to a certain number of establishments, which led us to a long discussion, I believe it was just a couple of years ago, about shortening the hours of the bar closings down there. And we do understand there are some good bar owners that shouldn't be penalized as a result of a poor few. So let's take those licenses away. And I say that we start revoking them. And if that means they're going to go to the ABCC and it's a hardship, it's becoming a hardship on the city because we're sending police officers, multiple cars downtown on a consistent basis to break up fights or alcoholism. I mean, some of these people, they change ownerships. It goes from, the owner, the manager of record changes from one person to the next. So I think that we need to take an aggressive approach, a strong approach, and send a message to these bar owners that are consistently cited for problems. I mean, some of them didn't pay their taxes. I mean, it's really kind of ludicrous, the infractions that they have been charged with, and the punishment has been handed out doesn't seem to be in line. And I think they just continue because they're allowed to. And I think that it needs to stop. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. No, I think Councilor Milanazzo's motion was an excellent motion. I have never been an advocate for after-hour bars in the city of Lowell. I think it's the type of reputation Lowell should not have. That it's a place that you can go after all other places are closed. But I do know, I do feel that the License Commission does all the work, does their job with due diligence. They do what they can, but I think we have to look at what else can be done. When I look at the All-Star Lounge, and you realize that a policeman was stopped from going into the establishment by whomever was responsible, probably a bouncer, or I believe it was a bouncer that wouldn't allow the police officer into the establishment. That's unacceptable. And to say a 2-day suspension, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they should have lost their license immediately. I know we don't have that power. I know the commission doesn't have that power. But I think in light of what we've seen here, I think we have to start thinking about the possibility of not allowing after-hour drinking in the city of Lowell. I've long been against it. I see no value in it, except for a few people. There are businesses that do a better job than others, and maybe Councilor Elliott is right. Do you punish everybody? But I don't think, with everything that we're trying to do in Lowell, with the success that we're having in Lowell, the number of people that are moving into the downtown, I think we have to look at what do we value. And this is something that I think should be taken under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Leary.
A lot's been said already, and I think it's all accurate, but I think amending hours, there are a lot of bars downtown that actually are doing an excellent job. And we should differentiate strongly between the ones, the aforementioned All-Star Lounge, and some of the other establishments that are actually good, solid business owners, and are actually, they're embarrassed with the folks that they're being compared with. So when a lot of these information gets out about we're the Wild West downtown, or public urination, or what have you, you have a lot of establishments that actually manage their facilities, their proprietary location appropriately, and they should be differentiated between the others. We have a lot of good businesses downtown that are bars. We also have a lot that aren't. So not to belittle the point, but I think we need to make sure we establish that point strongly, because I know there's a lot of those folks that own those establishments are taxpayers and homeowners in the city of Lowell and take great pride of their business. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
So I just wanted to follow up with something, Mr. Mayor. So one of the concerns that we had way back when were police officers being present and a requirement of these bars. And quite frankly, the bars, the Mill City Ballroom, the All-Star Lounge, the Village Smokehouse. I mean, how many more times do we have to hear about the Village Smokehouse becoming that bar has the most police calls in any bar downtown, because they turn it into a nightclub atmosphere. And quite frankly, police officers aren't lining up to take these jobs because it's too much. So I think at the least, and they don't want to be there by themselves, and I don't blame them. So, Mr. Manager, if you can look into if there's a requirement, if it's an ordinance change that some of these bars that have capacity of 200-300 people, that they have 2 police officers, that it's not just one, because if you talk to police officers, they don't want to go into some of these bars when they're the only person, and for safety reasons, and I don't blame them because they're details. So maybe at some point we need to require having them, some of these, if we're going to let them have them, and I don't think that we should, that they at the minimum have 2 police officers, because they're taking resources that are being paid by taxpayers to go and address problems created at their bar, and that should be handled on their dime. So that's just a follow-up thought. I agree. We have a good downtown, and there are good bar owners, but it is a downtown where we have people living, and it's finding that balance, and it's only a handful. So I just wanted to throw that out as a suggestion, Mr. Mayor.
Any
Thank you,
further
Mr.
discussion? Council Leahy.
Quickly, I just wanted to echo that, there are a lot of good establishments downtown that do keep order and run a good business. And as Council Leary said, they are homeowners and taxpayers of the city. I myself, I called a few times to talk to some of the License Commission people and just asked for their explanation on different issues. And I do agree that, when these violations occur, we just have to be tougher and let the chips fall where they may. So, it doesn't mean we have to close everybody down at 12 o'clock, but it just means we have to get tougher with these people who are using all our resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The chair would just like to point out that some of those bars also have sidewalk seating during the summertime. And the sidewalk seating during the summertime is really a privilege. And I'm sure that they'll all be happy to have that next week when the folk festival is going on. But maybe that's a privilege that should be restricted to establishments that just have a clean record going forward. So I just wanted to throw that in. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the Smith-Baker Center Rehabilitation Plan update. Any discussion? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank Planning and Development and Yunju Choi of the Coalition for a Better Acre for a rather in-depth motion response. I appreciate it, and I can see the CBA is inquiring many both federal, state, and local tax credits and grant programs that are out there, and they're seeking just about everything under the sun, and that's great news. So that being said, Mr. Mayor, I'd like Young-Ju Choi from the CBA to come up and brief the council of where this fantastic project is at. I know it's still in its infancy, but it's something that this council voted for unanimously, and we're very much supportive of, and we know what a catapult it would be for the Acre neighborhood. So I'd just like a little briefing, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here. So here are just quick updates on what we've been doing especially for the fundraising portion. So what we had proposed is that we would take first 2 years to raise the funds, and then the construction would start 2 years from now, and it'll take about a year to build. And total cost of the building is $16.5 million is what we're estimating. And we are looking at different funding sources. So about 40% of the costs would come from federal and state tax credits, as well as new market tax credits. And then there will be additional fundings through various type of grant opportunities and then individual donors and all of that. So so far we actually put together a plan that you've all seen, and we're continuing to add on to that list. And also, we've recently submitted a grant proposal to the Parker Family Foundation for capital fundraisers position for next 2 years, who can help us with the capital fundraising. And we also started some conversation with different foundations for large matching fund type of donations. So we're talking to like Parker Foundation for a larger commitment, as well as Smith Family Foundation and a few different foundations. And we have on October 7th, we actually are planning a benefit concert during Jack Kerouac weekend. And the other thing is we are actually forming an advisory board, and many of the members from the Blue Ribbon Committee that former Elliott had formed are the members of our advisory board. So that's what we have for so far.
Thank you. Council Belanger.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Young-Ju. Great job. You know, we're very much looking forward to your vision there at the Smith Baker Center. We just like you to stay focused, as we know you are, and continue. And what I'll do is I'll make a motion another 6 months or so, probably 6 months from now, and we'll see where you're at that point. So thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Elliott.
Yeah, just very briefly, thank you for the update. Even though we haven't heard much about it, this report reflects that the work continues, the hard work, and that's the fundraising portion of it. And it's a 10-page report, which reflects that, you know, Young-Ju and CBA, they are living up to their commitment to go out and find money everywhere and any place they can, so that building will not crumble to the ground. So I think it's still good news. It's still a good sign. We know it's difficult, and it's the most important part, but they, you know, CBA has made the case, and they're staying the course, and I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll move on to health insurance. Any discussion on health insurance? Councilor Elliott.
I would just like to refer this. I have a finance subcommittee meeting coming up in a number of first week of Tuesday, Mr. Clerk, and I think this is. First of all, it's good news for the city and how much we have saved since we have gone to the GIC, and I think it's important. As you know, $12.6 million is a lot of money to be saving as we continue to save. So thank you for the report. I think it shows how we're able to take these savings and, you know, and put it to other parts of the city, whether it's streets and sidewalks and, you know, other areas that can make a difference and still provide good quality health care insurance to our employees. So it's a good report. Thank you, Mr. Manager and Mr. Baldwin. I'd like to discuss it a little bit further at the Finance Subcommittee meeting. Thank you.
Did you say you wanted to make a motion to refer this to
Move
what
to-
subcommittee?
Move it to Finance Subcommittee.
Finance Subcommittee, seconded by Council Leary.
Just quick. probably
On
covered
the
this in the
motion.
finance subcommittee, but the incurred but not reported for the older years, are we getting anything coming out of that? Are we still being charged for some other bills that might be coming in? Do you know that? And if not, we could talk about it at the finance subcommittee meeting. But, I mean, incurred but not reported, I mean, healthcare, you probably got it pretty well done. I know Cook does the analysis, but do you see their analysis being accurate for older years? Or is there any increases? And again, if you don't have it now, we can talk about it at the finance subcommittee meeting. It's probably something you need to take a closer look at.
Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Are you asking about our other bills being paid from the health insurance account, or?
No, not the premium years. I guess I'm assuming years going forward, we pay the premium and there's no incurred but not reported. It's done for
Right, there's-
years now. But I'm talking about 10, 11, or 12. Do we have any IBNR development for those years right now? Or are those years right now, pretty much those books closed at this point?
So there was a little while after we switched to the GIC, the claims were still being run out of the trust.
Yeah.
We're pretty much done with that at this point.
Okay. So there's no new development, no need or any issue coming up with those years. Those years are closed at this point for okay, good. And then the years now going forward, it's a premium, so there is no IBNR. We pay the premium and,
We just pay the premium.
which I
moving
think
forward.
if you're looking at it, the IBNR development, the incurred but not reported can be significant. And if you pay the premium, you're done. You don't have any of that development. You don't have to worry about all those large increases. So not only, as Councilor had said, you sell $12 million, you also kill any ambiguousness a part of it. It's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one last question on the report. On Table 2, Mr. Baldwin, there's a staggering number between 2012 and 2013, which is in the city's favor, I believe. I mean, the costs escalated. This is from 2000 to 2013. Payouts to Blue Cross Blue Shield peaked at 2012 at $54,420,000, and then it dropped the following year, 2013, to $6.7 million. Can you tell me what that's attributed to?
Yeah.
2013 was the first year that we were in the GIC, so that number there represents the runoff of the claims. So 2012 was our last full year with Blue Cross Blue Shield being self-insured.
Right.
And was essentially the peak of those claims payouts.
Okay, so we paid out 6.7 the following year to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then we went to GIC, because before that point, the city was self-insured.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to refer this matter to the Finance Committee? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next item is the city contractual accounts. Any discussion on that?
Just quickly first,
Councilor Leary.
thank you very much for the analysis, and thank you for everybody who put it together. I know it's a lot of work. I know that the council has asked a lot of questions in the past. It's due to the Chief Financial Officer Baldwin. Thank you. I know the council's asked a lot of different issues in the past. I know these are things that are well managed. I guess I would want to refer this to the Finance Subcommittee too, because there are some questions I had regarding some of the police stuff, more to kind of educational. I don't want to bog down some of the questions with folks who are already on the council that know what have dealt with it over the years. And I know there's been motions on, quarterly or biannually regarding some of that. So if I can make a motion to refer it to the Finance Subcommittee with a thank you for putting that work in. It's pretty detailed and it's interesting to say the least. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to refer item G to the Finance Committee as well. Second by Councilor Milanazzo. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any further discussion on item G? If not, we'll move on to item H, which is counterfeit driver's licenses. Any discussion on counterfeit driver's licenses? Hearing none, we'll move on to financial impact of out-of-district students. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the 5-year plan for
Excuse me. Hello?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that the estimated cost incurred for the 36 students is $129,610. And it's my understanding that they're letting these students continue on for how long?
For this year.
For this year,
For the next school year.
fiscal year 17,
School year.
school year.
16,
And
17.
then what? And then that's it?
my position would be that if it's going to go beyond that, that it would have to be something that would be negotiated by the union. But, and I also think that it's worth getting an update on what those costs are, the cost of $129,000. I think it's worthwhile getting an update on what those costs are in September, once school begins.
In the meantime, we have our own Lowellian student children on waiting lists, which I don't completely think that that's fair at all. So if you could be, if you're in charge here on the school side, please take that into consideration, because that's my concern. That's a lot of money to me.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot of money to incur to people. It's a double whammy for those parents that their children are waiting to get into their own neighborhood, and somebody else that lives and does not pay taxes here, and we incur this cost. I don't appreciate this scenario, but
Neither do I, but I would point out that it is something that didn't just start.
No,
It's
I know.
something that has gone on for a long, long time, probably
it's
for
about
decades.
time it stops. Like
And-
something happens that our own take precedent over outsiders. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Hey, who wants to go first? Council Leahy, then Council Leahy.
so I wanted to follow up. I planned, is there a revolving fund? Because Council Leary just sent over a report to talk about it, and I thought I saw within our report there was a revolving fund for out-of-state students. I had planned on talking about it at that point in time. But that being said, my understanding was that slots were going to be made available in the high school only for those students, because there is space available. But otherwise, Lowell kids are not going to get bumped any further. Is that the case?
I don't think that there's not an issue with the high school. The issue is with the bulge in the population in the lower grades. And there are 3 grades, in fact, that create that bulge, and that's where the issue is. And that's really why this has come up. This is something that, as I said, has gone on for a long time. This school committee is forced to address it basically because of the bulge.
So if these students are coming from out of district, isn't it the responsibility of the district where they live to reimburse the city for those students' costs? So do you know, Mr. Mayor, what this $126,000 cost is if we're getting reimbursed or we're not getting reimbursed?
I don't believe we're getting reimbursed. That is the cost. That's how much it's going to cost without reimbursement, $129,000 for
So, as you
roughly
mentioned,
30 students.
This has gone on for a long time, and there was no policy. Is the school committee looking at adopting a policy, or is that an ordinance that we have to adopt? If this was going to take place, I mean, what does it have to be bargained through the union, I guess, is my question. Because it's a benefit to those teachers?
I consider it to be a benefit to those teachers and something that should be bargained for if it's going to continue. And I do think that it is something that this school committee will come up with a long-term solution, long-range solution for this year. But they don't have that at this point. So the idea on the short term, during the budget session, it was decided that the school committee would let it go for this year and notify parents that it would be, or teachers, that it would be okay for this year for those 30 people. And so then the question came up, which is a question that you brought up, and a question that I brought up actually on the school committee side, is to exactly how much was this going to cost? And the amount that came back was $129,000. But I do think that it's worth revisiting that amount once the school year begins.
Okay, and I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, that it is clearly a cost. But more importantly, I think it's a policy, or it's a policy issue that if it is going to be bargained, but, okay, that makes sense. However, first and foremost, that if this is going to happen, there should be a protocol, or the policy should be that, sure, they can come to the district as long as they're not bumping another Lowell student that wants to go to a particular school. And I think that's of paramount interest, that kids should be afforded the opportunity to go to school in the city that they live, and not, be subject to sort of bumping rights from, an out-of-district student. So I guess I can make a motion, but Mr. Mayor, perhaps you can follow up on exactly what the plan is, if if it is going to be a policy, or does it have to be an ordinance? I really don't know.
I don't think that it needs to be an ordinance. I'll say this, I do think that it's a school committee issue. I think the school committee is looking to address it. I think that it's a matter that's being discussed in executive session. And so it would be something that I'd be reluctant to discuss too much in open session here this evening. But when there's further updates, and there will be further updates probably within the next couple of months, I'll be happy to provide the city council with those updates at that time.
Thank you.
Just quick, real quick, I mean,
Council Leary.
being on the school committee, this is something that happened, you know, you were on it before me, Councilor Leahy, many years prior to our involvement. My understanding is that the state reimbursement, the Chapter 70 monies follows the student. So you're getting partially reimbursed. I believe this rounded number of 130 is actually what we don't get from the respective towns. The other issue I think you tie into is an expense issue for the city is this bulge that's going through. And that's a problem, and it's not our problem to deal with as a city in terms of the actual implementation or plan, but it is a problem because there's going to be a cost with it eventually. And it's something that we should be talking to the superintendent, saying, what is your plan and what's it going to cost? Because this bubble is going through, and it's just going to continue. And it's going to be a problem next year, it's going to be a problem the year after, right up until the students get into the high school where there will be an elite, you know, you will have that space to fit the bubble. But you're going to have this coming up next year. You're going to come up, it's really the bubble's 4th, 5th, 6th grade. It's going to go right through. So this is something that we need to have a plan, because next year they're going to, you're going to need modular schools, or you're going to need space of some sort that's going to cost money, and it's going to be more than $130,000. So while that's very important, it needs to be dealt with, and I think you obviously have the school committees dealing with it, there's another side of the issue that I don't think we're actually cognizant of, or at least paying much attention to right now, that's going to cost more money, that we need to make a plan right now in terms with the school committee. Thank you.
You know, I will say this. I will say that the school committee has so far toured 2 different parochial schools with the idea of maybe expanding into one of those parochial schools. The first one really didn't seem like it would be appropriate, but I think that the more recent tour that we did, that shows some promise. And I'd be happy to give a report on that too once we move ahead with that. But those are issues that the school committee is taking up and the superintendent is taking up now, and that I hope get resolved, because you're absolutely right. Thank you. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. So my question was also that when the school committee talked about this issue, why was it put off for a year? Was it just, it seems like once it came out in the open, and it was apparent that we're losing money, is this something that eventually the difference will be made up by the students or by the union? If it's a benefit for the union, why aren't they just paying the difference next year?
My recollection is that it came up during budget deliberations, which is towards the end of the fiscal year. So it was really, a majority of the school committee felt that it was too late to give proper notification to the teachers. And so the idea, the compromise position that was struck was to put everybody on notice that it would be okay for the upcoming year, but that nobody should expect a plan beyond that.
All right, it just
the best
seems
I can
kind
tell
of
you.
funny that, you know, I mean, seems like it's a union issue, right? Because they're the ones that, I guess, struck a deal with the superintendents in the past.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just been I don't think it was something that's been negotiated. It's certainly not anything
Well,
that's
not
in
in public, but I think,
it's not anything that's in the contract.
right.
It's just something that's gone on for a long time. And that bubble was a bubble in grades lower than that in the previous 2 years and in the previous 2 years before that. But this has been going on, this policy has been existent without being negotiated with the union in the school department for, I don't know exactly when it started, maybe Council Samaras would, but decades. It'd be fair to say it's been going on for decades.
Okay. It's quite a bargain too, I suppose, if the difference has to be made up by the student's account, then, you know, it's quite a bargain when you divide that number. It's about $3,600 to come to Lowell schools versus going to a private school, which would be 3-4 times that, so.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on a related issue to this topic is that an issue that's come up on this council is that the cost of newcomers where refugees are settled in the city, and I get it, we're a city of refugees, and that's great. But these newcomers are far more costly to the city, and we've had meetings with our Congress and U.S. senators, and they seem to have gotten nowhere. Now, should this be looked at? Yes, we're talking about 36 students. We have in the city Lowellians that their kids can't go to Lowell public schools, and they're taxpayers. Okay, should this be, we're talking about 36 students here at a cost of about $3,600 a student.
Yes,
should-
Counselor, let me just correct it. It's not that they can't go to school in Lowell, it's that they can't go to the school that they would prefer, probably.
In their neighborhood? Okay, okay. Well, with that being said, I just, we could use some relief on this cost to educate newcomers with ESL learners and stuff. That's where the real financial burden is to us, to the taxpayers of the city. And we don't seem to be getting a relief that costs over $20,000 per student to educate. And that's where we need the help in that sense. So I don't know where it's gone. Is there any relief on the way to us? I think we get a $500 stipend for each newcomer, which is a far cry from the over $20,000 it costs to educate them per year. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm just looking for some relief in that aspect because that's part of the bulge we're seeing that you're speaking about as well in the middle grade schools. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll move on to the 5-year plan for problem properties. Any discussion on that? Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the city manager. Mr. Manager, when this program is completed, can this be brought as a demonstration or as a presentation to the whole council instead of going to a services committee? I think that some of the points that are made in this report are very promising towards the city, especially for the neighborhood groups and interested parties that want to know the progress of properties in the city that may be in disrepair or troubled right now, that to be able to chart their progress to becoming, back on good behavior. So when that is completed, which is hopefully soon, maybe in the early fall, Mr. Manager, if we can have that done in front of the whole council, I think it'd be beneficial. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago at a council meeting, I made an inquiry about 887 Andover Street. I have yet to get a response. I think that's kind of like a problem property. It's a beautiful area of the city, and it's an empty, beautiful home that is falling in disrepair. I don't want to call it grass, but the weeds are like this high. It's a main thoroughfare gateway into the city, and I go out and I see this all the time. I don't know what people think about it. I don't know why, if it's in foreclosure. I looked online to see if the banks own it. It says the previous owner owns it. I don't know what the status is, and I've asked. To me, that's a problem, and I don't know what the status is, and I don't know why we're not doing anything about it, because I don't have any information. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager. Just on that property, it seems like every year they test patients. They let it go, let it go, let it go, and then finally they come in, they trim the lawn, and it's their maintenance program. They trim it once a year. So if there's stiffer fines or penalties to whoever, again, that's something we just need to sink our teeth into because that seems to be their maintenance plan.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
I remember you giving that address, and I thought we had taken care of that, but I will follow up and find out what it is and make sure that it's taken care of, because I do remember that request. We'll follow up on that.
Any further discussion on problem properties? If not, we'll move on to the motion response tracker. Any discussion on that? Moving on, under informational, we have National Night Out. Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a wonderful program that's been going on for a number of years. There are 3 locations. It's going to be at on Tuesday, August 2nd, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. National Night Out is a crime prevention and safety event where there'll be presentations and tables and information. The 3 locations that evening is the Morey School from 6 to 8 p.m. with an outdoor family movie, the St. Louis School from 6 to 9 p.m., and the North Common Park, Fletcher Street at Father Sorrento's Way from 4 to 7 p.m. I've been there before, and it's a great night out, and I suggest it for everyone. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. when we talk about National Night Out, it is a great event, and I hope that people venture out because they'll be excited about it. When we're talking about St. Louis School as one of the sites, there's a person here that probably would like to add something to this, and Sandra McNamara.
I didn't prepare a speech, but most of you guys have attended. And our real goal is to teach younger children about opioids and crime, violence, stuff of that nature. And it is focused on the kids. We added a new edition for a little bit of our older kids that feel they were left out. And this we're going to have there this year. So hopefully they'll enjoy it, something to add on to. But again, it's a good night. Everything's free, doesn't cost anybody anything. Everybody is welcome. I don't turn anybody away or I don't ask for IDs. So I hope to see everybody there. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to accept all of the communications from the manager and place them on file. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item is a communication from the city manager appointing Norman Gajia, Francisco Ramos, William McDevitt, and James Hall to the Veterans Commission. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion, roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Leary.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Thank you. Would the recently appointed members like to say anything at the microphone? How about if you just introduce yourself so people will know who you are? Just, that's all.
Good evening. I'm Bill McDevitt, born and raised in Lowell, combat veteran, Vietnam, Assistant Director of Veteran Services, UMass Lowell, and I'm really looking forward to working with the Commission on Veterans.
Thank you.
I'm Francisco Ramos. I like to go by Frankie. I was pretty much raised here in Lowell. Air Force, about 15 years, served overseas. It's a great opportunity to serve my fellow veterans, and also the time that I've been back here, when I came back out of the service, I've noticed that the awareness of our youth has dropped as far as the proper etiquette for flags and the national anthem and that. I'm hoping that I have an opportunity to make them aware of these proper etiquettes that I've learned here in Lowell, during our school system. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Norman Jaguar. I'm a life member of the VFW Post 662. I'm also the captain of the Honor Guard, which we did the funeral today for Mr. Poitras. And I've been a member since 2003, and I've been on the Honor Guard since 2004. Thanks.
Thank you for your service.
Next, we have a communication to accept the resignation of Erica Haddad from the city manager. We have a motion to accept by Councilor Rourke, second by Councilor Samaras. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to appoint Sean Callahan to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Do we have a motion to approve the appointment? By Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Leary. Yes. Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Next, we have a communication from the city manager to appoint James Peters to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Do we have a motion to approve by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Leahy? Discussion. Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Leary.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Mr. Peters is in the chambers. Would you like to say a few words?
This is all going to be new to me because I haven't sat with the zoning board before, so this is something that's kind of new to me. I'd like to thank you all for your support, and look forward to working with you in the future. And if any of you haven't been on my TV show, please see me after.
Thank you. Next, we have a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one person in the Lowell Police Department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo. Discussion, roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes. Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
Next, from the city manager, we have a vote to accept a proposal of Kevin and Debbie Fernandez in the amount of $15,500 at 25 Only Street. There's no objection. We'll waive the first full reading and just do the reading by title. In the second reading, authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal of Kevin Fernandez and Debbie M. Fernandez in the amount of $15,500 to purchase property located at 25 Only Street and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote declaring surplus the property at 347 Gorham Street and convey it to David T. Daly of the Rectory Trust for $11,000. If there's no objection, the first reading will be by title. The second reading, declaring surplus the property at 347 Gorham Street, Lowell, Mass., containing 3,549 square feet, and authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal from David T. Daly, trustee of the Rectory Trust, for $11,000 as open green space. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Discussion, roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to convey parcel A, a piece of land in the amount of 14,357 square feet to DCAMM for the courthouse. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and move forward with the second reading, declaring surplus the property designated as parcel A, consisting of 14,357 square feet of land as appearing on a conveyance plan for the Lowell Trial Court site in Lowell, Massachusetts, and authorizing the city manager to transfer the property to the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance for zero consideration. We have a motion approved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have two ordinances. We have an ordinance amending the zoning amendment, Article 2, entitled Definitions Regarding Mobile Homes, Manufactured Homes, and Modular Homes, and Article 5, Dimensional Requirements. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading. We have another ordinance that was also submitted by the subcommittee, amending the zoning ordinance by including regulations of manufactured mobile homes in the city of Lowell. And again, if there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading. So I guess we can do just the second one. Okay, so we'll do the second reading for the first one. An ordinance amending the code of the city of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 290 thereof, entitled Zoning, by amending Article 2, entitled Definitions Regarding the Mobile Homes, Manufactured Homes, and Modular Homes, and Article 5, Dimensional Requirements in the city of Lowell. And the second reading for the second ordinance reads as an ordinance amending the code of the city of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 290 thereof, entitled Zoning, by including regulations of manufactured mobile homes in the city of Lowell. Council Belanger?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been on the council floor here for a number of weeks, this issue here regarding mobile homes, manufactured homes, and, there's been a lot of hard work done by the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council Neighborhood Group. They have worked very diligently, and I think have come forward with a very good proposal. I think it's one that protects neighborhoods and gives us the teeth we need to prevent, mobile homes going in. And not that we're against small homes in the city. People are allowed to build on their land. We're not against small homes. However, we had an incident out at Pawtuckettville. There was some controversy there. I know there was, from what I understand, a financial burden as well. And, people sometimes have to cut back, and that's what life brings on at times. But I am inclined to support the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council on this ordinance. I do want to thank Solicitor Christine O'Connor and Eric Slagle for all their hard work and what they've put forward too. Their job is to protect the city and at all costs, and I think they've done that. But in this case, I think this is something that, I would probably not want next to my home. So this is the way I'm going to vote on the council floor. Although maybe in another corner of the city, it's still very, very important to all neighborhoods throughout. And I think it's important that, we protect neighborhoods, and I think the PCC's vision gives us the most legs. I think sometimes that there's gray areas, and, in order to protect our city and our neighborhoods, we have to walk that fine line sometimes, and it may be challenged at some point. But in my opinion, I say let it be challenged. I think it's important that we maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods. Again, there's going to be financial burdens throughout the city, and we still need to work with homeowners and property owners throughout if they do want to scale back and build a smaller home. However, this a little bit too much resembles a mobile home. And it's not something that I'd want next to me. And I think my colleagues may agree with some of that and some may not. But with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I do want to refer to a public hearing, the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council's version of the proposed ordinance. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Mercia, to refer the proposals, the zoning amendment proposed by the Pawtuckettville Citizens Group to a public hearing on August 23rd, 2016 at 7 p.m. Discussion on the motion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This topic is about definitions of different structures, and my opinion is as follows. When describing the word mobile as defined in the dictionary, mobile means capable of moving or being moved from place to place. My opinion, you can take this house from one place to another because it is on wheels. It has a chassis. It, to me, is no different than a trailer, and it was built to standards that were in place before 1976. When describing the word manufactured as it relates to manufactured homes, according to the thesaurus, says as a noun, a manufactured home is a large house trailer that can be connected to utilities and can be parked in one place and used as a permanent housing. My opinion, this is the same as a mobile home with a chassis, but built to standards that were in place after 1976. Now, I do not object to this type of housing if used temporarily while someone's home is under construction, if a fire took out their permanent home, but I will not support this type of housing permanently. When describing modular as it relates to modular homes, this is a custom-designed, factory-built, and finished on-site product. It is wheeled in on a flatbed and constructed on-site. There are no chassis and no wheels. It is a solid, permanent structure. My opinion, I would only support this type of a home to be built permanently in residential neighborhoods. I want to preserve the character of neighborhoods in this city. We do not need a trailer park. This is not the Salisbury or Hampton Beach State Park Reservation. So in conclusion, with the research, in my opinion, It appears that one ordinance is similar to my belief. Therefore, my support is in conjunction with the views of the neighborhood group. And I did ask Attorney Eric Slagle if the proposed amendment to the City of Lowell zoning code that was presented by the PCC is in violation of the state zoning code laws, and he said, no, it isn't. So, I mean, I don't want to vote for something that is completely not in sync, but he assured me that it was okay. And you know, I know that people say, well, gee whiz, there's a lot of poor people in the city and there's a lot of housing that we should have for them that they couldn't afford this, that, or the other. And I'm thinking, what about surrounding communities? It seems like everybody wants to come here and put up a little spot, and, you know, I just feel that I'm not happy about it. I mean, we've done our share in Lowell. When does it end? I mean, what about Carlisle? Put these places in Carlisle or Dunstable or Pepperell or something. I mean, let's get them to have their fair shot at the title like we've been for so many years. But anyway, and I'm not saying I'm for gentrification or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But I think we've met our quota and we've done our yeoman's job with housing. But be that as it may, I support the Councilor Belanger's motion to bring it to a public hearing.
It might just come down to, there's a lot to like about Lowell.
That's right. And we've done a lot of liking and a lot of building, so.
Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As chairman of the zoning subcommittee, I'm pleased that this is moving forward and that I will support Councilor Belanger's motion to refer the second ordinance to a public hearing. Did you say on August 23rd? Okay. But I also do want to recognize the hard work of Eric Slagle and Christine O'Connor in meeting with the subcommittee and the neighborhood group on numerous occasions. And I also want to thank the PCC for their efforts and their language that we'll be considering at the public hearing. But again, it is a public hearing, so I'm sure we'll be hearing the pros and cons to what we will have before us that night. And at the end of the night, I hope we'll have the best product, if you will, to bring forward in the form of an ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is to send it to a public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next is an ordinance to create a one-time, part-time grant-funded program assistant in the H&HS department. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading and go with the second reading. An ordinance creating one new part-time grant-funded position entitled Program Assistant and establishing the salary in the Health and Human Services Department. Chair would entertain a motion to send it to a public hearing on August 9th. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is great news. This is a grant-funded position, Mr. Mayor, and it's going to be aimed at the opiate crisis. So with that being said, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, I'd like him to brief the council and the folks at home on this great position that is going to help combat the opiate crisis here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have one full-time person that's working with the students at the high school relative to the opiate crisis. But that person needs some support in the task that they have to perform. So we applied for a grant, and we received a grant to fund a part-time position that will provide support services to the full-time worker. So they're going to be able to spend more time directly with the students. I think it's a great opportunity. I know the council has been very, very interested in having educational support in the high school and the rest of the school system relative to this, and this will help that out.
Very good, Mr. Manager. I think it's great news. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? If not, the motion is to refer it to a public hearing on August 9th. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under subcommittee reports, we have a report from the Neighborhood Subcommittee of July 20th, 2016. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Previously stated on July 20th, which will be last Wednesday, at 6 p.m. at the North Common Amphitheater in the Acre section of Lowell, we held the Neighborhood Services Subcommittee meeting. Myself, along with Councilor Samaras and Councilor Leahy, Present was Councilor Mercia, Manager Murphy, Kevin Coughlin from the manager's office, Chief Jeff Winwood from Lowell Fire Department, as well as a couple of firefighters. We had Deputy Webb and Sergeant Prescott from Lowell Police, Eric Slagle from Developmental Services, State Rep Roddy Mum was there as well. Who helped out with the meeting was Dave Olette from the Acre Action Group. Himself and the rest of the group returned as hosts for the evening. The meeting started off with Sergeant Prescott and Deputy Webb. They first addressed the crowd. They spoke of the crime for the past month, then got into the past 3 months. And they also spoke of the falling crime rate over the past number of years in the Aiken neighborhood. We had a gentleman from the church that abutted the amphitheater who spoke of 20 years ago, the crime that was going on outside of his place of worship and how much better it is now. Next, after Deputy Webb, we had Chief Winwood and members of the Lowell Fire Department. They spoke to the crowd as well. They also, Mr. Mayor, brought the newest fire truck, Engine 2, the Branch Street Firehouse. It was unveiled to the residents and to the members of the community, which was very popular with those that were in attendance. Manager Murphy was up next, and he addressed the crowd with steps the city has taken with regards to issues in the Acre. The manager and his staff took questions and concerns from the residents, including paving and sidewalk issues. Kevin Coughlin from the DPD spoke about the Working Cities Grant. He identified the partnerships, objectives in education, economic development, and inclusion. Also at the presentation, Councilor Mercia spoke to the residents as well. Following Councilor Mercia was State Rep Roddy Mum. Those are in attendance. Also heard from numerous members of nonprofit agencies that directly affected the Aiken neighborhood, including the House of Hope, the CBA, Mill City Grows. They talked about their impact and their goals for their future going forward. And once again, Mr. Mayor, the subcommittee would like to thank Dave Olette and the folks at the Acre Action Group for being terrific hosts for the meeting. With that being said, the meeting adjourned at 7:15. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any discussion on the report? We also have a report from the Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee of July 26, 2016. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee met this evening at 5:30. We had a motion by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Samaras, to review the parking contracts report that was done by Nicholas Navin, our parking director. In attendance, members of the subcommittee, myself, Councilor Leahy, Councilor Rourke, also Councilor Belanger, Councilor Leary, City Manager Murphy, Councilor Samaras, Christine O'Connor as well. Nicholas Navin was very forthcoming with information. It was a very informative meeting. We did receive this report that was referred to the subcommittee at our last meeting, and it's quite extensive, looking at all of the facilities citywide, talking about the various contracts that we have, easement agreements as it relates to Wanna-Lancet Office Technology Center when that was built back or redeveloped back many years ago, the agreement that we had for the Hotel Urban Development Action Grant and that parking garage, now working with UMass Lowell. The parking garages and the enterprise fund is really, in my opinion, a success story here in the city. We have a overabundance of usage. We have contracts with Middlesex Community College, as I mentioned, UMass Lowell. We have residents, over 2,500 residents using our parking facility. And again, the fees go from zero with the agreement for the UDAC for the Lowell Locks Garage up to our market rate, and most of our users are paying market rate at $64 per space per month. If you look at the financial data that we received in the FY17 budget, the revenue from the parking garage is about $4.5 million. So again, in my opinion, being here for a long time, thinking about the Roy Garage on Market Street when we weren't sure anybody was even going to park there, and now you look at the Early Garage, the A8 Garage, and all of the garages that are being managed well and are very successful. And I think it's been a key to us being able to revitalize this city, and especially, obviously, the downtown. We have a lot more work to do with the Hamilton Canal garage that the manager spoke of earlier. So again, I'd like to report as a report of progress that it was very informative. We're doing well in our garages. Could we do better? There are some things that Nicholas Navin, they're looking at now from the standpoint of being able to go to your iPhone and see what parking spaces are available and costs and so forth. So all of that will be forthcoming sometime in fiscal year 17. So I offer that, Mr. Mayor, as a report of progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that report? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. One other thing that came up right as the meeting ended, there was a resident from downtown. So through you to the manager's office, manager, the one thing that they mentioned is Folk Fest and Winterfest. If they have trouble getting into the garages with their permits, we should maybe just look into, those are the 2 weekends of the year that, they may get shut out of a garage and they might have to park on the street if they get parking tickets or whatever. So I told her we could look into however we want to address that. But that was really the only major issue that they came up with. So thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to accept both reports as a report of progress. We have a motion by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo, to accept both reports. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under petitions, we have one petition. It's from Comcast, a request to install and maintain 129 feet of PVC communication conduit at 10 Technology Drive. If there's no objection, that's the first reading, and so we were just referred to a public hearing on August 9, 2016. Do we have a motion to that effect? By Councilor Samara, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we'll move on to City Council motions. The first motion of the evening is a motion by Council Milonazo, request the City Manager have the Human Resources Department prepare a report highlighting the changes in health care benefits between 2011 to 2016. That is in co-payments, amounts, referral requirements, generic prescriptions, et cetera. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could we also, Mr. Manager, include the impact that this has had on the retirees as well? Yeah, so if it's all city employees, including school department, and then retirees. So again, the motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Belanger. Request that the City Manager have the Superintendent of the Lowell Police Department update the City Council regarding the status of the charges brought against the 22 individuals arrested on drug distribution charges as part of Operation Triple Play. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In late June, there were 22 confirmed arrests regarding drug and heroin distribution right here in the city. And what in all this hard work, what I'd like to say that does bear mentioning is that, this council, this administration is working very, very hard in this opiate crisis, how the city of Lowell has been hit very, very hard. We got a report on our desk this evening that while we had calendar year 2015, we had 47 confirmed heroin overdoses. As of 6 months, up till June 30th, we already have 40. So we have pretty much met that number in in a little over 6 months. So things continue to get worse. And I guess my point is that, and all this talk, I've been all around the Commonwealth. I've had meetings with this at the MMA in Boston, all throughout, and not once has anything come up about the dealers. The low-level dealer on the streets of the city of Lowell, in my opinion, a public enemy number one. Okay, so when I read the headlines that day that we netted 22 arrests, I was ecstatic. Okay, it was a very concerted effort from federal, state, and local authorities that was well sought out and planned out for months in the making. And we have men and women of the Lowell Police, state and federal, barging open doors of drug dealers, risking their lives. And I just want to keep a tab on these individuals who were arrested on charges. What happens to them? Okay, they're going to be at the mercy of the courts. I would just like to see what happens to these individuals over the course of time, and I understand it takes time, but this one I'm watching in on. I want to see what happens to them. If they're going to be just back on our streets after all that effort, I don't know. It's too early. I don't want to be presumptive. If it was up to me, they'd all be in a jail cell, but that's me. Okay, so I think it's important we keep an eye on these individuals to see the outcome as time goes on, Mr. Mayor. So I would like, through you, the superintendent of the police, to keep the council informed as to the outcome of these individuals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Elliott.
Not directly related to the motion, but I'm wondering, Mr. Manager, I did just learn of a news report where some states will be allowing the drugstores to carry Narcan and over-the-counter. Is that something that Massachusetts, I believe it's Texas, are already doing it, and I just feel it's just something else that, you know, parents or caretakers or someone, you know, it's just another option to save lives. Is that taking place in Massachusetts, to
Mr. Manager.
the best of your knowledge?
No, I don't know, but the public sale of Narcan sounds like a great idea. I'll look into it and see if there's any proposals to bring that forward.
Okay, I know some states have adopted and others are moving in that direction, and it does make some sense that, I figured I'd just bring that up as a point of information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are certain agencies within the city, including the Lowell House, that actually give it away for free. All you gotta do is make a phone call, and they will provide Narcan. I believe that some certain pharmacies do have it now in stock. Yes, and so it is. It's moving along. Unfortunately, the need for it is there, but they do have it. Thank you.
Council Belanger.
Yes, Councilor Rourke did answer my question. Through you to Mayor, Councilor Elliott. Yes, it's readily available in the city alone through many outlets. And the problem is with the heroin, the lethal dosages that we're seeing is mainly because of fentanyl. Heroin is being synthetically made now with fentanyl, which is highly toxic and deadly. And that's in there. And if you're overdosing on fentanyl, it often takes 2 to 3, 4 hits of Narcan to revive you, as opposed to 1. So that's part of the issue here too. But the answer, yeah, Councilor Rourke is correct. Narcan is available in the city through many outlets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Elliott, did you have something further?
No, I just wanted, that's good information for us to know. I didn't know that it was available at pharmacies for, again, you know, it's the last resort, but it's going to save a life. And if people know that they can get it at a drugstore, then that's good to know. That's all. It's good information to get out to the public. As Councilor Rourke mentioned, unfortunately, but it's a necessity. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Belanger, requests the city manager have the superintendent of the Lowell Police Department provide a report regarding the enforcement procedures for vehicles stored on property with out-of-state license plates. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received, in the last few months, quite, at least a handful of complaints from mainly downtown, 1 or 2 in the suburbs, regarding mostly apartment and condominium complexes where you see mainly New York plates, but many out-of-state license plates. They seem to recognize they'll disappear, then come back on weekends, or be gone for a couple weekends and come back. It's like, they think they're living there and living in New York at the same time, and perhaps, I guess, what their concern is, they may be double dipping in a entitlement type process. So I don't know. I know this was talked about years ago prior to me getting on the council. I just would like to know the procedure and the enforcement levels that we are doing on out-of-state license plates in the city. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. This subject comes up a lot, and I know that the standard answer is that we have to observe the car for 30 days, which is quite a feat. So is there, maybe there's another way that, we can put the burden on the person that owns the car to show that they're living somewhere else. So if the car is registered somewhere, write them a ticket and make them provide phone and electric bills or something like that. But it just seems, to watch the car for 30 days is almost impossible. So it would be good to sort of figure out a way to crack down on this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. I understand what Council Belanger and Council Leahy are saying relative to out-of-state license plates, and you see them all over the city, be it New Hampshire and New York, but in other states. But Council Belanger did mention New York. It's my understanding, and again, it just could be street talk, that some of these New York plates belong to drug mules, I'll call them. They're bringing drugs in, they're staying for a few days, they're leaving and going back to New York, they're coming back to Lowell. So again, I'm sure that Superintendent Taylor and his team are looking into that aspect of the drug dealing, or the sale of the drugs that are going on here in Lowell. So I just offer that as a comment.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. If there's no objection by general consent, we'll suspend the rules to take up a third motion that was filed by Council Belanger. And the motion, my understanding from the city clerk is that the motion was filed in a timely manner, but that the agenda had already been set. And so if there's no objection, we'll take up that motion at this time. Hearing no objection, the motion by Council Belanger is, excuse me, request that the city manager work with the superintendent for the implementation of CopSync 911, a security communication alert system for the Lowell Public Schools. Second by Council Milanazzo. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very, very important issue with, security issues that we're seeing throughout the country. CopSync 911 is, to sum it up in layman's terms, is a real-time alert system that allows teachers to instantly communicate with law enforcement. It empowers teachers with option-based responses to make our school staff and students safer through enhanced notification, reducing response time. I understand this has a history, Mr. Mayor. This was approved from the school committee approximately a year ago, and evidently no action was taken. And I was notified by a friend I've known for years, Brendan Flanagan, that to perhaps follow up. And it seems like a very it's for 29 schools, it's well under $100,000 to really enhance the safety of our schools and teachers. So to me, that's a small price to pay, and I'd like to see it completed. Mr. Mayor, but through you, if I could make a motion to suspend the rules to get a small, just a few-minute presentation from Mr. Brendan Flanagan, who's here this evening from CopSync. We could give the council a briefing and the folks at home of the importance of this issue, and I think we need to get going on this, so I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, if there's no objection, Council Belanger's asking that to the microphone to speak on his motion. No objection,
Mr. Mayor and members of City Council, good evening, and thank you for allowing me a few moments to speak with you. My name is Brandon Flanagan, CEO of an organization called Brandon CopSync, based locally in Danvers, Massachusetts. In summary and in short, the CopSync 911 system is designed to be a threat alert and notification system, which is aimed to bridge the communications gap, which we know exists between a school building under threat directly to law enforcement. The ultimate mission in deploying CopSync 911 is to reduce law enforcement response time. So we have seen from studies conducted at the very highest levels for the DOJ post-Sandy Hook, the only way to mitigate these types of situations is to get law enforcement on scene quicker. The software application would reside on any type of device accessible by trusted members of the school administration, faculty, and staff. This would enable them to launch an alert, so to speak, through the software application, sent directly to law enforcement officers in field and the dispatch and communication center within 15 seconds. Statistically speaking, we know that this alert will reach the first responders in a much quicker time frame than it would take for that system to take place in the 911 infrastructure, which has a little bit of a loop inherently built into it. Furthermore, law enforcement officers would be they would be in receipt of very detailed and specific information down to the classroom number from where the threat originated from, and also opens up a two-way chat communication portal, thusly bridging that communications gap, which I mentioned earlier, and this is happening in a real-time setting. So in summary, that's a very brief synopsis and overview of what we aim to accomplish.
Thank you.
Sure.
Council Belanger.
That sums it up, Mr. Mayor. I think Brandon's described it very well, and there's also a very revealing video that, Mr. Mayor, through you to Brandon, if you could go on the city website and email the link to the entire city council, I think that would be very informative as well. If you could send that link to the entire council, it'd be great. But I would just like the manager to follow up with the superintendent. I think this is important with what's going on throughout the country. It's a cutting-edge alert system that will make the Lowell Public Schools as safe as they can be with the technology that's out there. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Thank you, Mr. Flanagan.
Thank you.
The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leahy and myself requesting that the city manager provide an update regarding the traffic control and crosswalks on Andover Street. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager. If we could just get an update, I know we discussed this over the last year, what our plans are. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is a motion by myself, requested the city manager instruct the traffic engineer to develop a traffic scheme for the Mammoth Road, Pawtucket Boulevard intersection that will relieve traffic congestion in the morning. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Motion speaks for itself. Under announcements, do we have any announcements? Councilor Leahy, then Councilor Elliott.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that last Saturday, I believe, we had that fire on Cross Street, and I just wanted to mention that the good work that the fire department and all the responders, the Lowell Police and Trinity, the system that they have down, they've been using this for a while, and I guess it works really well, and the fire department is very appreciative of how Trinity gets in. They set up a station which provides waters, cold towels, and just support, gives the firemen a little bit of break on a big fire like that. So I just wanted to mention that, the appreciation of all the responders to a big fire like that. Last week, they did a tremendous job, and just wanted to go say something and let it be known. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Chair would just remind everybody that the Folk Festival starts this weekend, and hopes that everybody has a safe and happy time at the Folk Festival. Any further announcements? Councilor Mercy.
And that the Folk Festival Parade kicks off Friday at 6:30 from the JFK Plaza and goes down to Boarding House Park. All the ethnic groups are there, and some of the people that will be playing in the Folk Festival venues will probably be leading the parade, and it'll be a vibrant time. And this is the time of year where all the good ethnic foods are there, where I actually gain about 10 pounds, but that's a good time. So hope everybody comes down.
Councilor Elliott.
No, I don't have an announcement. I wanted to ask for suspension of the rules to bring in an item relative to a communication from the city manager today.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules by general consent. Councilor Elliott, you have a motion?
Well, in light of the fact we don't meet for 2 weeks, Mr. Mayor, I thought it was important to suspend the rules to ask the manager a couple of questions, and I believe to refer this agreement from UMass Lowell to the Finance Subcommittee for discussion, knowing that you're having meetings, or I guess my first question, Mr. Manager, the items are highlighted in yellow in this report. Have those been negotiated, or those the city's proposal to UMass Lowell? And am I premature in referring this to a finance subcommittee, knowing that this is still up for discussion and maybe it's slated for executive session? Or how do we proceed with this agreement? You will bring to us, I guess the first question are the yellow highlighted portions.
The yellow highlighted portions are our proposals that we want to be in there. You see the revenue protection plan and things like that. Those are our proposals. I don't think it's too early to send it to the Finance Subcommittee. I think that would be good, because I'd like the City Council to know and understand just the basics. We're just looking for very basic things. The UMass Lowell has already agreed to most of the items. We're just asking for a couple of basic additions that I think are fair and reasonable. And I think once I have the opportunity to explain them to the council, hopefully you agree with me.
Well, let me just say from my first read on this this document, this 7th page, I think these recommendations are excellent, Mr. Manager. I think they're protections that will be in place for the city and for the taxpayers, and it lays out good opportunity for exchange of information and what is required by both parties as we move forward. And the majority of them are financial in nature, naturally. So I'd like to make that motion to have you explain to us this agreement, which again, I appreciate the fact you're looking out for the city's best interest, Mr. Manager, with inserting these particular proposals, essentially payment in lieu of taxes, but so many other angles and vehicles to get compensation for the city in lieu of services. So I think it's important that you had mentioned September, but here we are in July, knowing that you're not, we're moving forward on this in a timely manner, and I think it's important that we do so. So I'd like to make that in the form
You're
of a
going to make that as
motion.
a motion? I would suggest that maybe it be sent to two subcommittees. The Educational Partnership Subcommittee meets with the university administration on an annual basis, and we'll be meeting them in September, probably to go over their new capital plan, which I think probably ties into the financial arrangement or the master agreement that the city manager has sent out this evening. So if there's no objection, it probably makes sense to do it, to send it to a joint committee.
Yeah, no, I think that makes all the sense in the world to have, for the joint subcommittee. I just think it's important that we had this dialogue and that we work with the manager so he can continue this process to put this agreement in place in a timely manner.
Okay, so we have a motion by Council Elliott. Do we have a second to the motion? We have a second to the motion by Council Leary. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by Council Rourke, second by Council Samaras. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned at 8:15, 8:16. Good job, Eddie. Thanks.